All right, guys. Thank you for coming. Let's get started here. If you guys have any tickers you want me to look at, feel free to post those in the chat, and we're going to get started here. So let's see. That whole spring forward threw me off completely. I was like, I have class in 5 minutes. It's still light outside. But I'm glad I prepared earlier. I was not ready for this. Meaning, I looked at the clock. I was like, oh, I start in like 10 minutes. But all right, so starting off with the indexes here, right? Let's just take a look at everything. So you can see on what was this? Friday, we had a pretty nice pullback to back to the 21 or just back into 1 ATR. We had a pullback which resulted in really what ended up being an inside day. We had a fake out to the upside. We thought we are going to continue higher. But essentially what happened is that we got to move up. We made a new all-time high, and then that's pretty much it, right? There's nothing really more to this move. And I think a lot of people got faked out on this move. I'm sure. It was liquidity grab, pop up, and kind of the move was done with. Now, we have a few things that we got to pay attention to going into this week. We have CPI, we have PPI, and then the week after this week, we have what is it called? The FOMC. Okay. So we've got a few news catalysts. Now, I want you to really, I like to throw this chart up sometimes just because I like to see the consistency of how effective it is to look at the markets in this type of way. You can see here that pretty much we stay within this trend of back to our, we move to that 2 to 3 ATR and then back to the mean. 2 to 3 ATR back to the mean, 2 to 3 ATR back to the mean, 2 to 3 ATR back to the mean. We just continue to do that over and over again. And it's basically like we're playing within a sandbox, right? And if you guys have been here for a while, you know all about this and essentially the Keltner channels, all that good stuff. So it's really useful to pay attention to these things. You can see how well it's been respected in ES. You can see we had this one move outside of 3 ATR. And that's the first time in a really long time that we closed outside of there. I mean, here, we can take a look. Yeah, I can't even point out another time that we have since before 2021. Okay, this isn't part of the class, but so you can see how well it's respected these moves inside of these ATRs, right? And you can see here we've continued to do this. 2 ATR back to the mean, 2 ATR kind of trade in between, right? Back to the mean, 2 ATR, back to the mean, 2 ATR. Didn't make it all the way back to the mean, went to 2 ATR, back to the mean, 2 ATR. Now maybe are we going to flush back to the mean? That's the question. Now the only difference with this scenario is that ES is not pulling back to the mean, but you can see NQ is right there. I mean, after hours we're down a 1/4%, and we're about like 30 points away. So we are pretty close to coming back to the mean. But as you can see, pretty much every time we've gotten there, we've gotten a bounce. So I mean, here he came down to the bottom of the channel, but really reclaimed it. Boom, boom. Bounce here, bounce here, bounce here, and so on and so forth. So let's not overcomplicate this thing. Let's not start paying attention to this until we start getting a real hold under the 21 EMA here, right? I think that it's very possible. So here's kind of my game plan. I'm in some trades right now, and what I'm thinking is that if we, aside from energy, but everything else that I'm trading right now, if we have a pullback to the mean and into tomorrow, we're ending up closing below this 21, I may take off some risk into CPI. I just need to be cautious, right? Because you can see here, it's not a very common theme. Now, if I see us dip down to this 21 and get bought back up, it's probably a shakeout to rip into CPI or the news later this week. Now, historically, what happens a lot of the time is we can kind of sell off into these quad witching time periods. So keep an eye on that. That tends to happen. But at this point, just follow the trend, makes your life easier. And you can see clear trend, 21 EMA back to out to 2 ATR, back to the mean, so on and so forth. So right now, we're just having a reversion back to the mean. The sell-off could look pretty nasty, but at the same time, you can kind of see it's a common theme, regular pattern of continuous same type of action over and over again. Just back to the mean, 2 ATR, back to the mean, 2 ATR, back to the mean. And you can see here we rejected 2 ATR on this day and then moved back to the mean. Okay, so now what do we do with this information? So we can go kind of look at some of the sectors, right? Let's see how extended SPY is. They're a little bit different because we don't have the after hours. Now SPY, pretty extended, right? We're pretty extended. We've had a pretty strong move up outside these Keltner channels. You can see here. But we also are very strong. So do you really want to try and short this market? Not really. What is the easy short signal for me to consider? When we have a break of the high or the high bar, weekly time frame, breaks below the low. When we break the low of the high bar. So here is the high bar, the candlestick that made a high and has closed. Now, if we get a weekly close below this level and do not make a new high, we need to start paying attention to, we could potentially revert back to the 21 EMA, which this would be around 480. That's the first kind of real sell signal that you'll see on the weekly time frame charts. But as of right now, you can kind of see we're on the first bar of lost momentum. So that could be telling us something. But also at the same time, we got bought up really heavily at the low of the high bar there. Okay, we are trading outside near 3 ATR. So we do need to be cautious of whatever you're playing. So be cautious to the long side because, I mean, statistics will tell you that each time we get to this 3 ATR, let me get a little drawing tool out. Here you go. Maybe a highlighter will work right here. Can we change that color? Maybe not. Oh, there we go. Highlighter, there we go. Okay, and you can kind of see all these different times that we've gotten to the 21 or the 3 ATR. You can kind of see we get some sort of pullback and it's just kind of typical, right? So you got to pay attention to this because this typically will happen, right? So it's just something we got to watch out for. Now, am I saying jump ship and go short? Definitely not. But we just got to pay attention to these warning signs, right? Because we are overextended. We've had our first loss of momentum on the weekly time frame. Now, if we look here, here's our first loss of momentum. Notice this is kind of a combo, right? So we have that sell signal. We broke and closed below the high of the low bar. Weekly squeeze ran its course. We're out at 3 ATR. We have a loss of momentum on the histogram. And that's our sell signal. So that's what you want to pay attention to there. So here is a prime example of, you know, a sell signal in a reversion to the mean. So we have to pay attention to that. We haven't got that yet. The only element we're at 2 ATR. We have a loss of momentum, but we have not got a close below the low of the high bar. And that, in this case, would be here, this level here. And you can go ahead and mark it on your charts. Let's see, that level is 504.91. So 504.91. And if you guys have charts you want me to look at, let me know. Oops, I didn't mean to put that there. Okay. So we can pay attention to that. As for looking around at other parts of the market, we've got this bull flag going on the Dow. So I'm not completely sold on the short side. Honestly, I'm kind of leaning long that we will continue upside, but there are some things that we can use to kind of tell the story here. So you can see here, the Dow is kind of forming this bull flag. So I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of saw a continuation. You can kind of see in the after hours, you can see as quickly as that dip was, we got bought up. Now, here you can see YM is flat. And so this is kind of giving you the idea that there might be relative strength this week into the Dow. So we got to pay attention to this, right? At the same note, we can go look at the key sectors. Now, XLK, this one looks good, right? We've still got momentum swinging to the upside. We've got been holding above the 21 EMA, and there's no question that this trend is up. So why would we think otherwise, right? There's no reason to think that we might head down just yet. Let's just look at the trend, okay? Here was a downtrend. We broke that downtrend here, started an uptrend, and we've continued to uptrend ever since. So there's really no reason to believe that we're going to sell off, okay? So that's that. We have to play the charts that are in front of us, not what we hope is going to happen or think should happen by now, so on and so forth, right? So just look at the charts, look at what they're telling you right now. So that's XLK. That's the tech sector. That's going to be what really drives QQQ. That's what going to mainly drive everything. XLK is the biggest holding in all indexes and is most influential, right? So top holdings in this would be Microsoft. Microsoft, daily squeeze, kind of just trading in this channel. Now, we're not really doing anything. We're just in the middle of this channel, kind of between this level here, 415, and this level here of about maybe a little lower than 400, but we're really holding that support level of 400. So this chart looks pretty good until we break below 400, and then we start to get a little questionable. But other than that stuff, everything looks good on this chart. Weekly time frame, getting a little tired, but same time, kind of looks like we're forming a bull flag. Another one that we're sitting on that's heavily in the S&P 500 or tech, second leading most weighted name within that is Apple. Now we're kind of holding this support level here, or should I call it zone? And really what's happening is we're just, we've kind of bounced. We've bounced multiple times in this area. We are now at 3 ATR. So let's play that same game, right? So although this chart looks horrendous and I do not want to play to long side on Apple, we have to look at the pieces of the puzzle, right? 3 ATR, we bounced pretty heavily, right? 3 ATR, we bounced heavily. We got out near 3 ATR, we bounced pretty heavily. Out to 3 ATR, we got there. We had a little bit of a relief bounce, at least traded sideways. And then from there, came to 3 ATR, and then ultimately had a strong bounce. Now, here, and I missed one too. Here you go. So there really hasn't been a time, if you look at the charts, like 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't really see a time where even to the upside where we haven't reverted back to the mean after a push out towards that 3 ATR. So now this may look scary, but at the same time, I'm not going to be interested in going long this. I would much rather be paying attention to the sector because it's in a clear uptrend. Apple is not, but this is the second biggest holding, so we have to pay attention to this. So what I'm thinking is we could potentially see a relief bounce in Apple. If we see money start to pick up into Microsoft and this squeeze decides to fire long, we're forming some sort of a bull flag pattern here above 400. So all of those two things can kind of tell us maybe we might see a bounce. It's very possible, right? So don't get too excited about the short side. I've kind of given you the signs of what to look for the beginnings of the market to fall apart, and we're getting a couple warning signs, but right now we could definitely see a relief bounce. Now let's dive into some other sectors that are important within the kind of market. So XLC, this is more important within the NASDAQ. So this would be the second leading sector in the NASDAQ. XLK would be number one. It's not a major component, but there are some key components within this for the S&P 500 as well as the Dow. So this one, bull flag, trading in a straight bull flag, right? Trading sideways. You can kind of see it's in a clear range between this area here, this low of 78, and then this high, which looks like we triggered some stops here, and we probably faked out some breakout traders. So we might continue to push on this one. And then we have kind of the high of this range right around here, around 80.45. So really a breakout above this 85 level or $80 level, we could see a nice push. We haven't got to close above that just yet. I mean, maybe this one, 2 cents above it, but we couldn't hold it. So I think this one, we've got some pretty good potential for us to see continued upside in XLC. This will also help the S&P 500. And if we go take a look at the major holding within this, Meta, this thing has been absolutely a beast after its earnings. So no reason to think this one would be a short. You can see here, this is one of the strongest patterns you can really see in the market. We got our gap up after earnings, we traded sideways, and then we've continued to trade sideways to higher, which is a very bullish pattern. Okay. Another one in this sector here is Google. Now this one kind of got its reversion to the mean and kind of sold off pretty quickly, but pay attention to this, stacked EMAs. We may see a relief bounce here. Notice the last time we got to the bottom of this channel here, we bounced here, we may bounce again. So we'll pay attention to that. But this one doesn't look as promising, obviously, but it's been a pretty steep sell-off, but hey, we'll see. So that's one to pay attention to. And then the other key name that's in this sector is Netflix. This one looks great too. Weekly squeeze, or sorry, Google, or wow, I'm struggling with what I'm saying. So we had a gap up after earnings, like we had just talked about how it's a very bullish pattern. Here it is again, gap up after earnings, trading sideways to higher. So I like this for continuation. So we could see strength in XLC. I'm kind of going through this and looking at each of these sectors and the names within them can kind of help me dictate where the market might go from here because of what runs the engine, right? It's XLC, it's XLK. Now let's go look at XLF because this is what runs the engine for more so the Dow and S&P 500. So this one, we've got a 4-hour squeeze. Very, very strong uptrend. So I'm thinking it might be possible that we revert back to the mean, but at the same time, it's so strong that we can't even come back to the 21. We're kind of using that upper one ATR band as support and continuing to trade higher. So this one just looks very strong. At any point, we could revert back to the mean, but at the same time, strength is there. And we still have names like Goldman Sachs that has yet to break out. It's just been trading sideways below this resistance. So nothing to worry about there. Now, healthcare, this one looks excellent, almost as good as tech, right? We've got a daily squeeze. We came back, we came up, we've got a monthly squeeze on top of that. We broke out, and right now we're at 2 ATR, but as you may know, we can go a lot further than 2 ATR, especially on a monthly or weekly time frame squeeze. And then from there, if we look at just the trend, clear uptrend, anytime we've came to the 21, we've bounced. And here it looks like we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 days holding the 21 EMA, kind of retesting it and still holding. So I think this one looks good. We've got a daily squeeze. We've got a 4-hour squeeze. So let's see if this one can continue upside as well. Now, so those are the kind of key sectors that I'm paying attention to right now are going to be XLK, XLC, because they have the best setups right now. This leads me to believe the NASDAQ might look pretty good. Now, we are in a position in XLE. Now, this one, I think, is going to have a pretty quick, swift move up to $90. I think it's breaking out of this falling wedge, came into support right around here, and then ultimately got back above the 21. And now we've kind of had a nice swing in momentum. And I may look to add to this week, as long as we stay within this 1 ATR. I'm going to look to add and look for a breakout up into 90, and then ultimately from there 91.50 area. And then let's see if we can get up to this previous all-time high here. Well, actually, that's not all-time high, but the most recent high here at around $95. So that's another sector I'm paying attention to. This would obviously benefit things like Exxon. I think this one could break out, and this would be a new all-time high for this stock here. If it did break up to that 120 level, we've got CVX as another top holding. Now, this one doesn't look as great, but at the same time, I think we can see continuation. And if you look here, we are above we're basically retesting a really long-term range breakout and kind of forming this longer time frame wedge. So you can see that there, and there's potential. I think that this one may move higher as well. But if I had to pick one in this sector to run with, besides trading XLE, I'd be looking at things like MPC. There's strength in this one. It's at all-time highs, weekly squeeze, daily squeeze. It's continuing to move higher, as well as PSX. This one, very nice strength and continuing to move higher. It's got a daily squeeze, so I'm going to keep an eye on this one as well. And then last one I'll give to you, VLO. This one getting ready to break out into new all-time highs. So this one looks great as well with a daily squeeze. And then we've got earnings coming end of April. So we could see a run into earnings on this one. Break up into all-time highs, and then we'll see from there. I mean, I'd imagine the next target would be that 160, but looks really good from there. And then lastly, I'll give you kind of an oddball name to look at. So kind of recapping, right? We're mainly looking at XLK, XLC, because these sectors look the best, which is going to help out the NASDAQ. And then on top of that, I'm also looking at XLE and XLV. So those are kind of the main sectors I'm keeping on watch this week. Now, last week I did say I was going to be watching XLK and XLC. It just ended up not working out, right? Sometimes your game plan has to change during the week, and we ended up catching some nice winners in XME, XLP, and then yeah. So it just kind of just depends. Right now, what it looks like is XLC and XLK look like the setups to me right now. And we'll pay attention to those. And really, I think a key thing to pay attention to is, okay, are we going to close below the 21 EMA on the NASDAQ or what? What are we going to do? Okay. So that's kind of the main thing that we want to pay attention to. Last name I kind of want to give to you guys. Now, this one is pretty interesting. GoDaddy. It's looks good to take into tomorrow as long as it is around the price it currently is right now. Okay. Now, if you look at this, uh, huge strength, right? Massive run up. We had earnings, and then which we crushed. We had repricing going on. We had another earnings. We gap down, but filled the gap immediately and have traded sideways to up. Now, this one, I think there's strong potential. We could see a really nice move on this one for continuation. If you look here, we were in a multi-month, I mean, what? Since 2018, we were trading in a range. So since 2018. So I think this one has strong potential to just keep ripping. Now, if we look at the monthly time frame, monthly squeeze is just fired off. Let's go look even further, right? Let's look at a 3-month squeeze has yet to fire off. 6-month, nothing. I don't think there's enough data for it. Yeah, so we've still got a 3-month squeeze, which I normally don't look at that. But look at this. Traded sideways, held to 21 perfectly, and then boom, nice move up. And now let's just see if we can get a continuation. I'll probably look to play this one. Maybe I'll enter tomorrow. We'll see, but we've got CPI, so I want to be a little risk off, but I really like the setup. Chart looks great, so we'll keep this one on the watch list. I'm going to add this. All right. So do you guys have any charts you want me to look at? Anything you want me to review? Because that's really all I've got. And that's kind of the main stuff I'm paying attention to into this week. But do you guys have charts, anything like that you want me to look at? You can just put those in the chat and I can go over them. NQ and CL. So we talked about NQ a lot already. So NQ is the same as QQQ. Now, if you look at this, we could know by the end of the day tomorrow, this could be a really nice long signal. So we'll see. But this looks great for, I'm thinking long until we have a close below the 21 and we start to hold below it, right? Like this isn't holding below it. This is not holding below it, right? Not my idea of that. And you can see here, we might be getting the momentum shift on the squeeze histogram. So this could be a long position going into this week. We'll see. But yeah, I think this one, I'm bullish until proven wrong, which would be a hold below the 21. And it would be look like something like move below kind of here, rejection, and then continuation, break a structure. So that's what that would kind of look like. Okay, CL. This one, as of right now, there's nothing I would do with this one. Just because I think it looks bullish, but at the same time, I don't really, it's just kind of been annoying to trade, just because it can't decide what it wants to do. So I'd wait for a momentum shift on the higher or on like the daily or something like that, for us to push upside. But right now it's holding the 21. So if you wanted to take an entry here, it's a really clean stop loss with a close below the 21 EMA, and that would be your stop loss. It's a really good risk to reward trade there. But we can go look here right now. 4-hour looks like a short, but I would wait for it to get closer to the 78 level at least. And yeah, right now it's just choppy and ranging, because it's setting up for a daily move. So do I really want to short the 4 hour because when the daily is in an uptrend, not really. So this one, I would just wait for a momentum shift, see what the daily time frame wants to do, and then go from there. RTY, I think this one probably is one of the more bullish indexes right now. You can see here daily squeeze that pushed up into 4 AT or 2 ATR. I did play this one earlier this week. Here I got in right around here and had a target of 2100. And so that was kind of the play of last week. We've got a 4 hour squeeze. So I'd keep an eye on this 4 hour squeeze, see if momentum shifts to the upside. And if it does, then I would look to go long up into this previous high right around there. And then same thing, daily time frame. I think that this pullback might be a buying opportunity to go long RTY. Exxon. Okay, we kind of already went over this one. Yeah, I'm bullish on this just like I am bullish on energy right now. That's really that. This one's the top holding in energy, and it looks like it's already making its breakout. So I like this name long. I wouldn't buy it up here, but I do like energy long, so I do like Exxon as well. Amazon, this one. I think this one, before it sees any significant pullback, I think we're going to go to new all-time highs, which I guess would be right around this level here, which would be around 190 is ultimately where it would be. This level right around here, 88.65. I think this one is literally the only one besides Tesla of the Mag 7 that hasn't made a new all-time high. So I think it's just a matter of time before this does. And you can see here, we've got a daily squeeze, so that might propel us into that move. So I'd keep an eye on the 4 hour. And also look, we've got that earnings gap up. We've got all the makings of a beautiful move in all-time highs. So I'm gonna add this one as well to my watch list. I think this one should be a top watch for this week because we are so close to all-time highs. I think April expiration would give it some time. And then we had the earnings gap up. We're trading sideways to up. And look at what all these ones, like we talked about earlier, has done after this, right? So gap up, trade sideways to higher. Meta, gap up, trading sideways to higher after earnings. And so Amazon, I think, is just following suit. So I think beautiful play, in my opinion. To continue upside. I think that's the favorite one that I've looked at so far in terms of what you guys have been posting out. RTX. Hmm. Hmm. So this one, I think it'd be good for maybe a long-term hold, but what is it? What is the sector? What is this sector? RTX. I think it's materials. But anyways, I think this one, it doesn't look okay. So it has an earnings gap up. I think this one you could play long back into the high here. And then maybe to go fill the gap after that. So I do like this one. I think the price action is very bullish. The only thing I have to say is that's negative about this chart is how long we've been stuck in a trading range. But this could be that earnings report could be the thing that gets us going. So I do like this one. Just it's not the best chart in the world, but it does have that pattern that I really like of the earnings gap up and then trading sideways, and we're forming a bull flag. So that's very bullish. So yeah, I like this chart. You guys got any other ones that you want me to look at? Anything else? Or we good to go? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. All right, guys. If you have any questions, let me know in the chat. Also, if you're not in our signals chat, make sure you join. 7-day free trial. See if you like us, see if you don't. And we've had over 800% gains in the past 2 weeks. We do futures, we do options, we do all of that stuff. So, I mean, it's completely free to try it. Cancel it if you don't like it, but I can vouch for most of the people. They like it. So if you guys have questions, DM me in the chat. I'll post the link for the sign up if you guys are interested. But all right, guys, I will see you guys for the markets tomorrow. Should be an interesting week with all the news coming out. All right, guys, have a good night.